Well, a man arrested in connection with the fire at Parliament is facing charges of housebreaking, theft and arson. He'll also be charged under the National Key Points Act. The Act is a piece of legislation passed in 1980 that provides for the declaration and protection of sites of national strategic importance against sabotage. Well, the law has been criticised by the opposition and government itself for being draconian, relic of apartheid rule, but it does remain on the books. What are the implications of being charged under the National Key Point Act? Well, let's hear from attorney Vanessa Da Silva Faria. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for joining us. What are the implications and how serious is it to be charged under the National Key Point Act and violating them?
Thank you for having me. The implications are quite serious. The National Key Points Act makes provision for the person to be possibly facing a fine of up to 10,000 Rand, as well as imprisonment of up to 3 years, over and above the charges that the person would be facing in respect of housebreaking, theft, arson, etc. Interestingly enough, the Act also makes provision for the owner of the key point to perhaps also face certain consequences. The Act specifically makes provision for the owner to ensure that there is sufficient security. And if it's found that the owner or those responsible for security have been neglecting security, they themselves may face imprisonment of a fine or imprisonment of up to 5 years. So the provisions of the Act are quite serious. It will be interesting to see how it is enforced in this particular circumstance and who in fact would be facing these charges at the end of the day.
Vanessa, that is absolutely fascinating. I'll tell you why. We received an email last night which it purports to come from Parliament, saying that patrols need to be at least scaled back, if not put in place at all, over weekends and holidays. And it's dated November 2021. And surely that would need to come under scrutiny, because if what you're saying that has indeed been done, that is a violation under the National Key Points Act. If there was no one to patrol, then the fire wouldn't have spread.
Most certainly. If they did not put in place sufficient security measures, which, under scrutiny would have actually avoided this fire, then those people may very well be facing these charges.
What I have witnessed in the past, Vanessa, is certainly with the fire at UCT, is that a homeless person is usually brought in, they're charged, they're sent for mental evaluation. It's very difficult to actually pin down whether they committed arson or not, especially up in the mountains. There are no eyewitnesses, and usually the charges are dismissed, and this poor person who's been paraded as being this arsonist is let go, and there are no consequences, and everybody carries on doing what they're doing. There need to be quite, the state would need quite a strong case to successfully find this person guilty of arson, I suspect.
Well, yes. I mean, the state would need to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this person was in fact the person that caused this fire. But, the facts of this particular matter, or what we've been made aware of, are quite interesting, because we all know that this particular area is a secured area, or it's meant to be a secured area. I mean, everyone knows you can't just simply walk into Parliament. So I think it would be quite difficult to blame the homeless person who just kind of wandered in and accidentally set up a fire. This seems to be something that was planned and intentionally done. And I think the fact that the person was found on the scene at the time already assists the state in being able to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. But of course, an in-depth investigation will have to be held, and we'll have to see what that turns out.
Very, very quickly, I've been told I've got 30 seconds with you. In terms of the custodian of Parliament being held accountable for making sure that the key point is kept safe, who would need to bring charges against that person if they were negligent?
Well, it would need to be the National Prosecuting Authority who would need to institute those charges. They have an obligation to do that themselves.